is working with Worldview Weekend to make the free Worldview Weekend rallies possible. And the Worldview Weekend Foundation is a generous supporter of the airtime that we have to purchase to make available the Worldview Weekend Hour national television broadcast. If you would like to be a part of the Worldview Weekend Foundation and make a generous tax-deductible contribution, then the website address is worldviewweekendfoundation.org. worldviewweekendfoundation.org. Thank you for considering becoming a part of the Worldview Weekend Foundation. Welcome back, my friends of the program. Glad you're with us. All these articles, two by Trevor Loudon, one by David Welch, are all available at worldviewweekend.com, and I suggest you read them because it's very interesting, sad, quite frankly, to watch as religious leaders, clergy, are lining up and pushing an agenda that is also being pushed not only by this president, and we know what his worldview is. He's extremely pro-Muslim. An Egyptian foreign minister says he has told him confidentially he's a Muslim. He is anti-American. He is anti-freedom of religion. He is really, I think, in many ways, disdains our founding fathers. I don't know if you read his speech for the 4th of July from the balcony of the White House, but he had took a smack at the white founding fathers, talked about the rich landowners that originally founded America, and then went on to talk about, but a new day dawned, blah, 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 blah. And yet here you have the clergy of America, many of them, at his speech in Chicago, or wherever no, it wasn't in Chicago. Where was his speech given July 1st? Was that in Wisconsin? Wherever, no, some university. Where was it? Where was that? It's in my notes here. July 1st, American University. July 1st. So where I don't even know where American University was. Maybe somebody can tell me real quick. You can look it up and tell me what state or city that was in. I can't remember. But nonetheless, Richard Land was reportedly there, along with Bill Hybels, who introduced the president. And I think Leith Anderson of the National Association of Evangelicals was also there. And these guys are giving cover to him. Do they not realize that there's something going on when the Communist Party USA is pushing for the same thing they're pushing for? I mean, your first clue is that Obama's pushing for it, but your second clue would be when the Communist Party USA is radically pushing for it. Listen to this next clip by constitutional attorney and president of the Rutherford Institute, John Whitehead, has said on a clip that's available at our website, worldviewweekend.com, on how amnesty will bring a national ID card. He goes on to tell you what else it will mean for you. Listen to this.
Another provision that's very troublesome with this bill and the biometric national ID card is that all employers will be required to buy scanning devices where they'll scan everyone that applies for a job so they can collect information. If they do not get this particular scanning device, they will face substantial fines. In other words, not only will you be required to have the card, but employers will be fined if they don't have scanning devices to be checking up on you. Again, this information that employers will collect off your biometric card will be accessible to police and government agencies. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, this is not sci-fi. Reality is upon us. And this is something that's been talked about from the days of old. Remember, Ronald Reagan called it the mark of the beast? Well, where did he get that? He got that from the book of Revelation. In the book of Revelation, Revelation 13:8, here's what the so-called prophet John had to say about the mark of the beast. This calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is a man's number. His number is 666. So what we have here really is a form of a beast in the sense that we're going to have the government beast, if you want to call that, tracking and watching us. So the time to resist is now, because in these cards eventually will be RFID tags, which are little radio transmitters. So wherever that card is, the government will know you're there. If it's in your billfold, if it's by your bed or whatever, the government will know. So, again, the time to resist is now. Contact your congressman, your senators, and say you do not want this. It doesn't matter whether you're against immigration reform or not, or you're for immigration reform. Do we really want this type of technology in the hands of government and forcing Americans to have it and fining employers for not having machines to scan it? Do we really want that in the United States, or do we want freedom?
Yeah, really, Richard Land of the Southern Baptist Convention. Do you want freedom in America? Or do you want tyranny? then why are you pushing amnesty? Why are you carrying the water for Barack Obama and giving him cover? Leith Anderson, there in your liberal church in Minneapolis, now head of the National Association of Evangelicals. You for tyranny? Bill Hybels, your church in Chicago. You for tyranny? Because you're being used, in my opinion. You're being used as useful idiots. You need to come out and just say, look, I am no longer a conservative, Bible-believing, evangelical, Ronald Reagan-type, constitutional, original intent conservative. Period. I'm not. What I am now is a moderate or a liberal social activist, community organizer. I mean, which one are you? Because you can't have a foot in both worlds. I don't trust a one of you any longer. Obviously, Richard Land has been of a different ilk than Hybels and certainly than of Leith Anderson. Hybels and Leith Anderson, I think, are quite extreme. This is why it just shocks me that Richard Land is hanging out with these guys. But then again, of course, Richard Land does belong to the Council on Foreign Relations, which he says he's done to be salt and light. Really? You think you're going to change an organization with billions of dollars with your presence? But it is shocking, because I would have never put Richard Land in the same camp with Hybels and Leith Anderson. So I don't know if something has happened recently to him, if he's not feeling real well. Has he had a minor stroke? I would doubt it. But, I mean, what is going on in that brain of his? I mean, look at all Hybels and Leith Anderson have stood for, Richard Land. Is that really the direction you think you ought to go? And where is the leadership of the Southern Baptist Convention? Pray tell, why has Land not been put on a short leash or even terminated? But this is highly offensive when you realize what the agenda of amnesty will be, as John Whitehead has just laid out. National ID cards, tyranny, control, the end of free enterprise, a system where businesses will be required to have this system, tracking your personal information, controlling you. Not to mention, again, when you have the Communist Party USA going along with it. Why am I the only one saying this? Where are the big leaders of the Southern Baptist Convention? Where are they? Why are they not speaking up about this? Why am I the only one that seems to be offended and find this completely disgusting? But again, of course, the Southern Baptist Convention was taken over by the Freemasons, according to Dr. Ed Decker in 93. And they couldn't even take a strong stand on the occult of Freemasonry. So, you know, maybe the Southern Baptist Convention, quite frankly, is beyond its usefulness anymore. And maybe Southern Baptist churches across the country should, quite frankly, just stop spending the money going to these conventions. Because it's obvious that nobody's really at the helm of what's going on here. Because they've had weeks and weeks and weeks to take a position, including a conference in June, to take a position on some of these things and get Richard Land under control. But they haven't, have they? So it makes you wonder if there's really anybody leading this humongous convention. I don't think there is. I think it's so polarized and so separate and so different in so many aspects that I find it useless, quite frankly. But I wonder where the Adrian Rogers type leaders are today. Are they for this kind of tyranny that amnesty will bring? 1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829 is the number, 1-800-347-9829. This American, the Communist Party USA, as we take your calls on this and what you think about this, 1-800-347-9829, the Communist Party USA and this Mexican-American Equality Commission, the guy that's running this, Munoz, M-U-N-O-Z, listen to what he has said. He has said Mexican Americans are a necessary force in the struggle to break through the right wing obstructionism and counter-offensive and win progressive changes in healthcare. You know what progressive means? Socialist. Progressive changes in healthcare, jobs, income distribution, redistribution, immigration, civil rights, labor rights, and more reasonable foreign policy in an ongoing electoral struggle and the coming elections. Mexican Americans make up 25% of the population in nearly 80 congressional districts. Let me read that again. He says Mexican Americans make up 25% of the population in nearly 80 congressional districts. They are a core constituency for progressives for progressive, socialist, Latino, African Americans, white, and Asian Pacific American representatives, and the key oppositional force to the right wing, end quote. Richard Land, are you right of center